I returned from a 14-hour flight to find 103 strangers in my house. After years of being used, I took back everything, and the fallout hit my brother harder than anyone knew. After 14 hours in the air, 3 layovers, and a seat that barely reclined, all I wanted was a shower, silence, and maybe the leftover lasagna I'd frozen before leaving. Instead, I opened my front door to find balloons, streamers, and 103 strangers in my living room. Champagne flutes were raised mid-toast, a Bluetooth speaker blasted Taylor Swift, my brother stood in a tux, and a sign over the fireplace read, "He said yes." The crowd barely noticed me. A few people glanced up, confused. One woman whispered, "Is that the guy from the pictures?" My mom was the first to react. She gasped loud enough to draw attention, then laughed nervously and said, "Oh, you were supposed to come tomorrow." My dad turned from the punch bowl and said, almost casually, we all agreed, "Your car is his wedding gift." No one clapped. No one asked how the flight was. No one even offered me a drink. I didn't argue. I didn't make a scene. I didn't even ask what they meant by "we all agreed." I just dropped my bag by the coat rack and nodded. Inside, something clicked shut. I smiled, nodded again, and walked upstairs. I didn't unpack. I didn't shower. I just sat on the edge of my bed, shoes still on, and opened my banking app. The first thing I did was remove my brother from the shared insurance policy. Then I checked the title to the car, still in my name. I bookmarked the form to transfer ownership and left it unsigned. Downstairs, they cheered for him again. I heard my mom say, "This is everything I dreamed of." The lights flickered from the hallway mirror, reflecting a family celebrating as if nothing had cracked, but something had, and I wasn't going to glue it back together this time. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in my own bed in my own house while strangers danced in the living room below. But my mind wasn't on them. It was somewhere deeper, rewinding, unearthing moments I'd brushed off for years. This wasn't the first time. It was just the first time they didn't bother to hide it. I remembered last Thanksgiving when my seat was accidentally given to a neighbor they wanted a real estate favor from. "We figured you'd understand," my mom had said then too. I remembered the time they used my login to book a honeymoon for my sister without asking, then sent me a thank you card signed from all of us. Most of all, I remembered the time my dad called me at 2 in the morning because my brother had crashed his car, my car, and they needed a cover story for the insurance. I said yes. No one ever thanked me. That was the pattern. I paid, they smiled. I showed up, they ignored me. I gave, they took. Every time I stayed quiet, they took it as confirmation that I was fine with it, that I was durable, replaceable, unshakable. But sitting there with the sound of clinking glasses below and the echo of "your car is his wedding gift" still ringing in my ears, I saw it all. The entire architecture of the lie they built. I wasn't a son. I was supply. They didn't see me. Just the things I could offer. A bank account with a name, a car with a title, a house with enough square footage for their parties. I started writing it all down, not for revenge, for clarity. A digital autopsy of every time I'd been made invisible, every time they'd asked without asking, every time family was just code for use him. When I checked the photos they'd posted of the party, my house, my living room, my walls, I wasn't in a single one. No mention of me returning. Home, no welcome back, just hashtags like #BestBrotherEver and #FutureLangfords. I scrolled back to older posts, birthday dinners I'd paid for, weddings I'd flown to, hospital bills I'd covered. My name didn't exist in any of them, like I was never there, like I was just a ghost who left money on the table and vanished before the cameras came out. I thought about the car, the one they now claimed was a gift. I remembered the day I bought it, how I'd worked late hours and eaten canned soup for months to avoid a loan. I didn't buy that car for him. I bought it for me. It was the first thing I'd allowed myself to want. But in their eyes, if I wasn't using it, it was up for grabs. That's what cracked me open. Not the party, not the crowd, not even my mom's gasp. It was the realization that I wasn't real to them. Not really. Just a line item in the family budget. So I got to work quietly, methodically. I pulled receipts, emails, screenshots, titles, bank statements. They wanted a surprise engagement party. They were about to get a surprise exit. The next morning, I got up before sunrise. I didn't make coffee. I didn't shower. I sat on the edge of my bed and stared at the wall like I was loading the mission plan in my head. They made a choice last night when they said it out loud. We all agreed, "Your car is his wedding gift." They weren't asking. They weren't checking. They weren't considering. They decided. So did I. I logged into the insurance account first. The car was still under my policy. I removed it, effective immediately. No coverage. Next, I went into the vehicle title registry. The car was mine, fully, legally. No transfer had ever been completed. I bookmarked the process to report unauthorized use. Downstairs, I heard the party start to rap, boxes dragged, laughter fading, plates clinking into trash bags. I stayed upstairs. At 7:04 in the morning, I pulled up our family phone plan, 5 lines. Mine, my brother's, my parents', and the backup phone my dad used for travel, all paid by me. I transferred ownership of all lines to them. They had 72 hours to accept, otherwise the lines would be terminated. Then I logged into the home security system, the one I'd installed, smart locks, cameras, thermostat, all under my management account. One click, suspend license, gone. I shut off their access to cloud backups, disabled the mesh Wi-Fi nodes I'd personally configured, and killed the remote thermostat schedules that adjusted their house temperatures based on daily habits. In less than 10 minutes, their house went from an automated smart home to a blank brick box. I didn't send a warning. I didn't write a note. At 9:17 in the morning, my brother texted, "Bro, the security cameras are down. Can you fix it?" I didn't reply. At 10:04 in the morning, my dad called. I declined. At 11:02 in the morning, my mom texted, "The phones aren't working. Are you doing something?" I closed the phone. They thought I was being petty. They thought this was about a car. They had no idea I was just getting started. By noon, I'd contacted the bank to freeze the joint emergency fund we'd set up years ago when my dad had heart surgery. I was the primary. I froze it. I called the mortgage company. The house had been refinanced 5 years back with me as CO signer. I filed for removal. Given their current income levels, I knew they wouldn't qualify for a loan. The process would trigger an immediate review. At 2:46 in the afternoon, my dad texted again, "This is childish. Let's talk." At 4:13 in the afternoon, my brother texted, "Why would you do this? He needs the car." I did not respond. Instead, I contacted the insurance company again and filed a stolen vehicle report because, legally, the car was still mine. I provided proof of title, registration, and the last known location. They told me to expect a follow-up. By the evening, the group text started. First, my mom, "You're overreacting." Then my brother, "You were never really part of this family anyway." Then my dad, "You think you can pull the plug and we'll beg? We'll be fine without you." I kept the messages, screenshotted each one, and organized them into folders. This wasn't about revenge. This was about finally enforcing the borders of a territory they thought was theirs. That night, I sent a single message to my cousin, "Mara, you were right. I've started pulling the systems." Her reply came instantly, "It's about time." The next day, I called the IT company I co-founded, my parents' accounting firm's backend. I'd set up the entire architecture. I requested to terminate their access, effective immediately. It wasn't malicious. It was clean. No data wiped, no sabotage, just revoked licenses, disabled security certificates, and a request for them to migrate to independent services. The IT manager at my company called me 2 hours later. They're freaking out. "You sure?" I was sure. At 3:22 in the afternoon, my dad sent the final text, "Family is all you have." I didn't reply. Instead, I drafted a letter. A clean, official, notarized document. I revoked all authorizations. I withdrew from all shared accounts. I removed myself from cosign liabilities. The final clause, I am no longer responsible for the financial stability, digital infrastructure, property management, or insurance coverage of any party mentioned herein. I printed 2 copies. I mailed one to their house. I kept the other. 2 weeks later, they moved 2 states away without saying goodbye. No text, no call, not even a forwarded address. They didn't need to. I already knew. They didn't want me. They wanted the system I built. Now they had neither. And I'd never breathed easier. It took exactly 24 hours for the first explosion. I was at my desk, writing up final instructions to transfer my name off the last remaining utility bills, when my phone lit up. 76 missed calls, 4 voicemails, 1 group text titled "From Your Mother." I didn't even need to read it. I already knew. But curiosity won. "You've gone too far. We were hurt, but now you're just being cruel. This is not how family treats each other. Come home. Talk to us. We'll forgive you. Forgive me." That word lit something electric behind my eyes. Not rage, something colder, something surgical. By the second day, the narrative machine was in full spin. My brother posted a filtered photo of my old car, the one I'd reclaimed legally 2 days prior, with the caption, "Some people don't understand what sacrifice means. I gave everything for this family and got stabbed in the back." Comments poured in, "You deserve better. blood doesn't make family. Stay strong. My aunt shared the post to her story, tagged my mom, and added a crying emoji with the word heartbroken. They were positioning, playing victim, shaping the script, but behind the scenes they were scrambling. By 4 in the afternoon, I got an alert that someone tried to access the insurance portal using my old login. 10 minutes later, a call from the title bureau. Mr. Langford, someone just submitted a dispute on the vehicle transfer. Are you aware? I was. They were trying to undo the last 2 weeks with panic and paperwork. They didn't know the digital threads were already severed. I'd rebuilt the house of cards and pulled my cards out. That night, my mom left a voicemail, long, teary, slurred in places. You don't understand what you've done. You think you're safe now, that they'll love you out there, but they won't. You'll always be broken. We kept you. We kept you safe when no one else would. And this is how you thank us. She hung up with a sob. At midnight, my sister texted, we're still your family, even if you hate us. Then the flip, but you were always selfish. This is who you are. You deserve to be alone. There it was. They pleaded, then they blamed. Now they'd withdrawn completely. On day 3, the full offensive began. My cousin Ellie called me, shaking. They had a family dinner last night, she said. Your mom stood up like she was delivering a eulogy. Said you've gone off the deep end. Said they're worried you'll hurt yourself. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so predictably manipulative. Did she mention the bricks, or the part where I gave them free insurance, security, cell service for 7 years? I asked. Ellie went quiet, then whispered, No, she said you changed after college, that you're unstable, that they tried everything. I thanked her for calling and made a folder, defamation counter. I filled it with screenshots, security footage, bank statements, every contract they signed in my name, every voicemail. By that night, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was the local pastor. I've had your mother in my office in tears, he said. She said you've isolated her, that you canceled their mortgage. Is there any truth to that? I didn't yell. I didn't defend. I said one sentence. If she can tell you what the monthly payment is without checking her phone, I'll reinstate it. He paused, then said quietly, She didn't know. I thanked him, hung up, and blocked the number. On day 5, the fake reconciliation began. A text came from my dad, the first in over a week. Let's fix this. We've all said things we regret. The phrase hit like broken glass. We've all I'm sorry, not what we did was wrong. Just a reshuffling of guilt, like poker chips. I didn't reply. An hour later, a package showed up. No return address, just a small wooden box, old, carved with my initials. Inside were my childhood photos, all of them. Some were cut in half, some burned at the corners, and a note, This is what a racing family looks like. I stared at it for a full minute, then scanned every photo, uploaded them to the cloud, and dropped the box into the trash without blinking. On day 7, the public ambush happened at a grocery store. I was checking out when I heard, There he is. I turned. 3 people, family friends, 2 neighbors, and Mrs. Langford. Yes, the woman who got my seat at Christmas dinner. She walked up to me, arms folded, her eyes glinting with moral superiority. You've made your poor mother sick, she said. She's lost 10 pounds crying over you. Do you feel proud? I didn't answer, but I did pull out my phone and pressed play on the security footage, the one where my mother damaged my car during an emotional outburst. No words, just the truth. They all watched. One woman gasped. I took the phone away and said calmly, Pride doesn't come into it, but self-respect does. I left them there, mouths open, their sympathy cracked wide. On day 10, total collapse. I got a text from Mara. They're moving 2 states away. Didn't tell anyone, just left. No forwarding address, no announcement, just gone. They packed up in the dead of night and ghosted every cousin, uncle, as if disappearing would undo the shame. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel sorrow, just stillness, like a storm had passed and all that remained was truth. Not the version they fed to friends, not the script they wrote over dinner tables and Facebook posts, but the truth I lived, a truth backed by contracts, signatures, receipts, bruises they hoped no one would ever trace. They moved without goodbye because the last thing they wanted was to face me sober. They thought disappearing would end it. New house, new state, no forwarding address, like ghosts fleeing the fallout of their own choices. But I wasn't chasing them. I was preparing the files because even in absence they kept spreading their version, the revision. It started with a LinkedIn message from a former mentor, heard about the family breakdown. Hope you're okay. Polite, neutral, suspiciously neutral. I asked where he'd heard it. He replied, Your mom came to a board dinner, said you'd gone no contact, after accusing them of financial abuse. He added, she said they forgave you anyway. Forgave me. That word again. I asked if she mentioned the $12,400 backyard remodel, the stolen vehicle title, the fact she smashed my windshield with a landscaping brick. He didn't reply, but I knew what had to happen next. I opened the folder. It had everything. Video footage of my mom hurling bricks at my car, screenshots of bank withdrawals without authorization, email confirmations of wedding expenses rerouted to my card, transcripts of threats, recordings of voicemails, a copy of the lawsuit, photos of the damage, receipts. I uploaded everything to a private Google Drive folder, then created a read-only link. That afternoon, I made one public post. I've stayed quiet out of respect, but lies have currency, and I won't pay interest on other people's debts anymore. I didn't burn bridges, I built them. And when they started charging tolls to cross, I stopped maintaining them. If you've heard a version of events where I'm the monster, here's the other side. Judge for yourself. I attached the link. I didn't tag anyone. I didn't add drama, no names, no accusations, just evidence. Within 12 hours, it had over 6,000 views. First reaction, silence, then a trickle. One cousin messaged, I had no idea. I'm sorry I didn't ask your side. A second, I believed what they said. Now I feel sick. Even my aunt, the one who called to uninvite me from the backyard party, replied, I didn't know how bad it got. You deserved better. I didn't reply to any of them. This wasn't about approval. This was about balance. They had tilted the scale for years with their gossip, their group chats, their vague prayers in church pews for their lost boy. I just placed weight on the other side and it snapped back hard. Then came the news I didn't expect. A local journalist, someone who'd followed my tech firm's early growth, messaged me, we're doing a feature on generational exploitation in family systems. I read your post. Would you be willing to speak anonymously? I asked, what kind of angle? She said, you built something. They harvested it. We see that more and more. I agreed. We spoke for an hour. I kept it clean. No names, just facts, patterns, power dynamics. The article dropped a week later. Headline, The Silent Breadwinner, When Family Becomes Infrastructure. I wasn't the focus, but one quote stood out. When you grow up thinking love is measured by what you provide, you don't notice you've become a utility until someone cuts the line and screams about the darkness. That night, I got an email from my father. Subject, we saw the article. No body, no signature, just an attachment. A blurry scan of a typed letter, maybe from a lawyer, maybe not. It said, cease public dissemination of defamatory claims. I forwarded it to my attorney. He wrote back, not even close to legally actionable. This isn't defamation. This is documentation. He also added, well done. Quiet precision is rare. They didn't want truth. They wanted shame. But I wasn't ashamed. I was proud because now everyone knew who paid for the house, who got cut out of Christmas, who had their seat taken by a flooring dealer, who smiled and left instead of screaming, and most importantly, who said enough and meant it. They didn't just lose me. They lost access to what I provided. They lost control. And for people like them, that's the worst loss of all. They showed up unannounced. No text, no call, no warning. Just 3 silhouettes on my porch at sunset. Mom, Dad, and my brother standing like a jury that finally agreed to meet the accused. I didn't open the door. I watched from inside, lights off, silent. Then a knock, soft at first, then again, louder. Finally, my mom's voice, we just want to talk. I stood, opened the door, but didn't step aside. She looked smaller than I remembered. Makeup faded, hair grayer, eyes swollen. My father didn't meet my gaze. My brother was scrolling through his phone like none of this mattered. My mom exhaled shakily and started rehearsing. We've had time to think. We know we went too far, but you did too. Maybe we all just need to start over. Then came the real line. The core of every manipulation rewrapped as humility, we want you back. I asked one question, why? My dad finally spoke, because you're our son. But it didn't sound like conviction. It sounded like a claim. My mom chimed in, you belong with us. We raised you. We were just scared and proud and maybe a little blind. She was waiting for me to break, for the tremor, for the sigh of collapse. Instead, I said, you didn't come because you missed me. You came because the system broke, and you can't fix it without me. My brother finally glanced up, smirked. Are you seriously doing this? Still? I turned to him, voice flat. You took the car without asking. It wasn't yours to take. He shrugged. You weren't using it. There it was, still unchanged. My mom tried again. Please, just dinner. One night, as a family, I let the silence stretch long enough to feel like a decision. Then I said, "You didn't lose a dinner, you lost me." She blinked like the words didn't compute. I added, calm, steady. "I didn't leave because of money or a car or a party. I left because every time I showed up, you made me invisible. I was never your son. I was the balance sheet, the tech guy, the emergency fund. You raised me to be dependable and then hated me for depending on myself. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not bitter. I'm just done." No one spoke, not even my brother. My mom's voice cracked, "But we're trying. Isn't that worth something?" I shook my head. "Trying means change. You came here to reset, not to grow. You want me back not because you love me, but because life without me is harder." She finally cried, real tears this time. My father tried to pull her back, but before they turned away, I added, "This isn't punishment. It's protection, for me." And then I closed the door. Soft, final, no slam, no scream, just silence. Not empty, not cold, but full.